when the construction of Milenge Police Station in Milenge District will be completed. B, what the cause of delay in completing the project is. Madam Speaker, in response to the question asked by my dear colleague, Honorable Chonde, I wish to inform the House that A, the construction of Milenge Police Station will be completed when funds are made available for the project. The project stood at 45% when government started considering completing projects that were at 80% and above. B, the cause of the delay is inadequate funding for the project.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I would like to find out from you if you have an idea of when the funds are going to be available so that this important project under your ministry can be completed. So if you can give an indication of when, so that the people of Milenge can just have an idea of when the funds will be available. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Member, I will not be in a position to categorically state when the funds will be made available. But I have no doubt in my mind that all of us as members of Parliament, and in particular the Parliament for Milenge, is expectant that this project is completed. We will make a request through the Ministry of Finance to provide funding for this project. You are aware that this particular policy was initiated by government, that only those that have been completed up to 80% will get funding. We will be reviewing this particular policy, which has made a lot of projects stop.
The Honorable Member for Chifubu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, since it was a decision of government first to deal with the projects that were at 80% and then later that were at 100%, and the police postation for me is outside the threshold, I want to find out if there were any legal implications pertaining to the contractors who were on site construction of this infrastructure, since it came on the side of government to discontinue the projects below 45%. I submit.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament. I wish to inform this House that the contract cancellation is underway for the project. We are discussing with the current contractor so that government cannot continue incurring expenses over a stalled project. We are doing that.
The Honorable Member for Milengi.
Thank you very much for your Minister for your responses. And my concern, however, as far as the people of Milenge are concerned, is that this is a district that has got a population of well over 60 or 70,000 and is only manned by a police post. By implication, you understand what a police post can do to supervise society or the duties of the police in terms of discharge. Now, do you have, as far as your ministry is concerned, do you have order of priorities? Because this is a district that does not have adequate facility as far as your ministry is concerned, and in particular a police station. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament, for that question. I want to confirm that we have priorities. And our priorities is to ensure that all the stored projects under the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security are completed. You may have noted that recently we completed and opened a police station in Iriteta. We will be opening another police station in Chivombo, which we are completing. And we are also completing the other one in Chikankata very soon. After we have finalized these other projects, we will now concentrate on those others that have stalled. We appreciate the concern, Honorable Member of Parliament. You are aware that the areas we are talking about require the services of government in terms of policing.
The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the responses from the Honorable Minister, and indeed the decision to prioritize projects in percentages was as a result of funding constraints, as he has stated. Honorable Minister, I just wanted to find out from you, knowing that apart from Milenge, there are other new districts whose infrastructure was advanced, police structures and police stations and housing. Is there a deliberate arrangement you can go in with Ministry of Infrastructure so that members such as the Honorable Member for Milenge and others who are willing, including me for Shwangandu, to apportion some CDF funds to this project so that we avoid the dilapidation which can culminate into escalated costs, can then be allowed to do that when the status of the projects is harmonized between your ministry and the infrastructure. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to thank the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shwangandu for that good question. Madam Speaker, I would like to undertake to bring a report to this House pertaining to the stored projects under my ministry, and also to indicate what amounts are required to complete those projects. Thank you.
The Honorable Member from Pongwe.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, most of the stored projects are exposed to vandalism. What is the ministry doing to protect this infrastructure from vandalism? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. Honorable colleagues, it's difficult for me to undertake any measure that will protect the infrastructure. The request I would make to all of us who are leaders is to appeal to members of the public where these infrastructures are located to ensure that they are protected. Because these facilities are intended for the use and benefit of the public in those other areas. That's what I can say, Madam Speaker.
As the time is 10:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for healthy break.
Good morning. You're tuned into Parliament Television. Business resume at 11 hours, and on the floor of the House was the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, concluding on a question that was asked to him by Mpongwe Member of Parliament, Mr. Ngowani. So this is in line with a question that has been posed by Mr. Chonde of Milenge. He did ask the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security when the construction of the Milenge police station in Milenge district will be completed. And members of Parliament were actually asking follow-up questions regarding these particular questions that were posed by the Honourable Member of Parliament for Milenge. The other part of the question, Mr. Chonde wanted to find out what the cause of delay in completing the project is. And so the House has so far considered one question for oral answer understanding order number 76, and 4 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74 have been considered. Initially, the House is supposed to consider 8 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. Just now we take a break. Do stay tuned right here on the only station that brings Parliament closer to you. Ms. Julian Nyemba is Chifunabuli Member of Parliament in Lopule Province under the Patriotic Front. She sits on the Committee on Government Assurances and a Committee on Parastatal Bodies. Being an educationist, Ms. Nyemba is passionate about education and wants to see to it that the people of Chifunabuli get educated.
My names are Julian Nyemba, but I've got also a funny name, which is a nickname, Mfranki, which is known by all the people from Chifunabuli. But in the education sector, being a teacher by profession, I'm known as Mrs. Kapia. I was born in Chifunabuli district at the place called Mutapa in Chief Chitembo's area in the Mission Hospital on the 31st July 1962. Then I went to Lubwe Primary School for the Catholics, where I did my grade 1 to grade 7. Then from there, I went to St. Mary's, again another Catholic school in Kawambwa, where I did my grade 1, my Form 1 that time to Form 3. Now, due to financial difficulties, I got a transfer. I came to Zambia Secondary School, which was closer to my home, where I did Form 4 and Form 5. From there, after a year or two, I went to Master Teachers Training College, where I trained as a primary school. Then I taught in various schools like Lukwesa Primary School in Iluapula. Then I came to Bama Primary School when I got married to my late husband, Mr. Aloysius Kapia, who died in 1991 in a car accident. Then from there, I pursued a diploma in office management. Then after that, I went to Chalimbana University, where I did a degree in education leadership and management, because I've got passion on education.
Ms. Nyemba recalls how difficult life was after losing a father at the age of 6.
Claudette, I struggled as a little girl because I lost my father when I was 6 years old. So I remained with my mother, who is my role model, very hardworking woman. We used to wake up very early in the morning, go to the fields around 04, because in our time, the only thing our parents would tell us, there were only two in the vocabulary: hard work and time management. So we used to wake up around 04, go to the fields when I've not gone to school, especially on Saturday and during the holidays. So it was tough. I learned how to make fritters to support myself to go to school. Then I had also a bit of support from the Catholic sisters and the priests who helped me, especially in the primary and part of secondary school. But when I went to Master Teachers Training College, I used to make fritters and sell to raise money to take myself to the college. It was tough. It was not easy. At the moment, we are 3. I have an elder sister, myself and my young brother. The two, my elder sister and my young brother, they are still in the village in Lubwe, at a place called Chibuye Kanika, where we have got a small holding where we are doing a bit of farming.
She has 2 children and takes care of other members of her family.
Claudette, my husband, died in a road accident. I was in my late 20s. You know, traditionally that time, property grabbing, this and that. By that time, I was in 8 months expecting my second child. So I've only 2 children, a girl and a boy. But because of my other relatives died, so I had to take care of the siblings. So the number sometimes grew up to 12. So as at now, I'm also considering them to be my children. But biologically, I've got 2. Then I've got 3 grandchildren. Okay. But from also those other children from my sisters and my relatives who died, they're about 12, 13, which I'm still taking care of.
Ms. Nyemba describes her adoption to stand as Member of Parliament for Chifunabuli as smooth sailing because she was already working on various projects in Chifunabuli constituency.
Claudette, it was easy because I did not only look at becoming an MP. My passion was to help my people in my constituency. So I started working in the constituency a long time ago. You know, sometimes in 2016, I had even to run away. They wanted me to stand. I said, no, I'm not ready. Until one chief approached me to say, come, we need you to come and give us this service. So first of all, I did not look at it politically, but I looked at it to help my people, to help the community. So since I had started working with women, I've already formed over 250 clubs where I go around empowering these women. Sometimes we grow beans, groundnuts, sweet potatoes, you know, keeping of goats, pigs. So I started a long time ago. Then I was also working on these schools. Wherever the school has collapsed, I would go. You know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I'm just there before I even became an MP. Claudette, I saw the gap because from 1964 up to today, Chifunabuli has been having male MPs. I thought of going into that vacuum so that also women can have a representative, women can also have a voice, which I have seen today, Claudette. When I'm in the constituency, women are free to come to me and talk about their personal problems. And I'm working hand in hand with the women. You know, in Chifunabuli, most of the households are run by females. Usually male, they run away. So these women have remained taking care of their children. So I'm going around the constituents, encouraging them to be entrepreneur, encouraging them to be hardworking. We are coming up with certain activities like keeping animals, chickens, growing. I usually go with seedlings to empower them so that at least they can have food on household levels. So most of the time I'm in the constituents, encouraging women. You know, sometimes they've got problems with, especially, they start giving birth when they are young.
She says she has settled very well in the house as a new entrant and does not feel intimidated being a female member of parliament.
In the chamber, first of all, if you have looked at me, Claudette, I'm quiet. I've been observing from the other side and the other side. But as at now, I'm coming up. Yes, you have noticed, yes. I'm settling in now. The only thing that I have observed is I don't have boundaries. I make friends easily. So for me to be on the other side of the other party, to be on the other side of where I belong, to PF, I don't have a problem because I mix freely. I'm not a person who can be intimidated because I'm not easily pushed. When you push me, Claudette, I'll ask you, why are you pushing me?
Ms. Nyemba says her family has been a source of strength in her line of work.
I get a very overwhelming response, especially from my family. You know, we are doing a private business, and my daughter is an entrepreneur, and equally I'm also an entrepreneur. So you find most of the time we are talking about how to uplift the living standard of our people in Chifunabuli. So when my daughter is an entrepreneur, would grow vegetables, you know, rearing of, you know, chickens, those layers for eggs, after selling the tomatoes and after selling the fish, after selling the vegetables, because we don't buy these things, we grow them at our backyard, and we grow them at a small holding that we have within Chisamba. So after selling, my daughter, my family, even from that small business, I'm passionate about education. So you find that I'm building schools using my own money. Sometimes I even use the vehicle, the truck for that business that we are doing to go and give the service to my people. So I'm getting an overwhelming response, and from the chiefs underground, because we are working together.
She is passionate about farming and teaching, as she now narrates.
When we were growing up, I never saw my mother having time, leisure time to relax. I would see my mother coming from the field. She would be there doing one or two things. In my leisure time, Claudette, I go farming, growing vegetables. Either I'm picking eggs, either I'm checking for the chickens, either I'm checking how is the fish doing in the, and then either I am there to help a slow learner because I always get interested to help a slow learner. Today, this attire you are seeing, Claudette, it came from one of my learners, Gwendoline. She was slightly slow, but because of the patience that I had, today she's doing fine in life. So most of the time, I would meet these slow learners. You know, even if when I find them playing football, I'll stop. Then from there, we'll start now. 14 minus 5. Can you count using your toys and your, from there. Who can spell for me the word? You know, most of the time I'm either with books, with children, or I'm doing something. So you cannot find me sleeping 04 Claudette from the Catholics, from my mother. By the time it is 6:10 or 6 hours or 5:50, I'm at my business place.
Ms. Nyemba has a word of advice to women who want to join politics.
I would love to encourage that woman who wants to be an MP. You know, life is the way you take it. Nobody should come and intimidate you. You can be what you want in this life as long as you are focused. So the way they say politics is a dirty game. No, politics are not dirty games. It's the way you take it, the way you interact, the way you do things. That is the one which makes it to be dirty. So I'm encouraging that woman who wants to become an MP to say, come and learn another experience in life, which I've learned today. To say not everything is so bad about politics. So let them come and be exposed. Let them come and learn one or two things, how this country is being run economically and politically. So let them not be scared. There are no lions here. There are no lions in the political. No, we are all equal, men and women. We all have got 5 senses. We all have got, you know what it takes to be there. So let them not be discouraged to say no. Let them not be intimidated. Nobody can intimidate them as long as they stand up and voice out and then give the service to their fellow women.
Ms. Julia Nyemba believes women have the ability to be leaders and they should therefore stand out and be the voice for the voiceless. It's a lovely morning. You're tuned into Parliament Television. Business resumes in a few minutes from now. The House has so far considered 4 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74 and 1 question for oral answer understanding order number 76. And after consideration of questions for oral answer understanding order number 74, we do expect the House to consider the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, which is coming up at third reading stage. The other bill that will be considered is the Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, which is also coming up at a third reading stage. So do stay tuned for consideration of those bills immediately after the House considered the remaining 4 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. And so we do expect a question to come from Mr. Chibuye of Mukushi North, Mr. Ellen Banda of Chimwemwe, Mr. Kabaso of Mwansabombwe, and lastly Mr. Amutike of Mongo Central. We do expect Mr. Amutike to ask the Minister of Youth whether the government has any plans to construct a stadium in Mongo district, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and what the seating capacity of the stadium will be. We also expect a question from Mr. Kabaso of Mwansabombwe to ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development when the construction of the Civic Center in Mwansabombwe district will be completed, what the cause of the delay in completing the project is, and what the cost of the outstanding works is. And so we're standing by for the resumption of business in a short while from now, as the House will continue with questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. Just now, we entertain you to live pictures right here in the chamber. Good morning.
Honorable members of Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
You are watching live pictures, and the bells are ringing, an indication that a quorum has not been constituted. So as soon as a quorum is constituted, business will resume as the House will continue to consider questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. So far, the House has considered 4 questions. Initially, it's supposed to consider 8 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74, and the House has also considered 1 question for oral answer understanding order number 76. We expect the House thereafter to consider the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, which is coming up at third reading stage, and the Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, which is coming up at third reading stage. And so, as soon as a quorum is formed, business will resume. 1/3 of members of Parliament needs to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted. And so, we await for a quorum to be formed. As you can see, some members of Parliament are still walking into the chamber. And as soon as a quorum is formed, business will resume. So I would urge you to stay tuned right here on Parliament Television as we endeavor to bring to you live parliamentary proceedings.
When business was suspended, the House was considering question number 227 on the order paper. And the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security had just concluded responding to a follow-up question by the Honorable Member for Mpongwe. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Kafinsa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My follow-up question to the Minister of Home Affairs. Minister, in your statement, you indicated that works stood at 45%, and you are currently engaged with a contractor to review the contract to avoid further government expenses. Minister, are you in a position to inform this August House how much money would be needed Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, are you able to inform this August House and the people of Milenge how much money would be needed for the works to be completed? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Though I was not on the seat, I think I heard that the minister said he would come to the House with a statement indicating how many projects are, how much is owed to different projects. And I think he won't be able to, he can't be able to offer it. Maybe the minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you are right. When I was responding to the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu, I did make an undertaking that I shall come back to this House indicating the levels of stored projects and the financing that will be required to complete the projects. I'm not in a position, Mr. Speaker, to indicate how much money is required now.
The Honorable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, first let me state here that there will be no time when any government official would come here and state that now the funds are available because of the competing needs in our economic sectors of our economy. The money will never be sufficient. Now, my question is, are you going to consider this project in 2024 budget as a ministry? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Mr. Speaker, I thought I was very clear in my statement as I was responding to the proposal that was made by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu, where he suggested that if the members of Parliament are aware and they are made known of the cost that is required to complete the project, then they may be able to chip in and complete the projects. And I did inform the House that I shall come back and inform the House the cost of the stored projects, so that together we can find ways and means of completing the projects. Some of the projects are 90% complete. Others are almost, there are just a few things, maybe 99%. So when I come back, you and myself and my ministry and the Minister of Infrastructure will know how to proceed in order for these projects can be completed. And we should always realize and know that CDF funding is government funding, colleagues.
The Honorable Member for Mbala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to find out one thing from Minister of Home Affairs about the difference between the police post and the police station. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to thank the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mbala. Is an establishment that is lower than a police station. Thank you. Any debate? Next question. Question number 228. Is it? Oh, sorry. The Honorable Member for Mkushi North.
A procedure, you know. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Question number 228.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member for Mkushi North wants to know when Kashime Mine, owned by First Quantum Minerals Limited in Upper Lusemfwa area in Mkushi, will become operational, what the cause of the delay in operationalizing the mine is, and what plans the government has in the event that the mine is not operationalized. Mr. Speaker, government response is as follows. Number one, the Kashime Copper Mine project is not wholly owned by First Quantum Minerals. FQM owns 62.5%, while Mimosa Resources Limited owns 37%. The mine is expected to be operational by the end of 2023. B, the cause of the delay in operationalizing the mine, Mr. Speaker, is mainly attributed to the marginal ore body grade and the frequent changes in the mining fiscal regime over the past years. This rendered the project sub-economical to operationalize. And C, the plans that government has in the event that the mine does not become operational include invoking the necessary provisions under the Mines and Minerals Act number 11 of 2015 to remedy the situation. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any supplement? The Honorable Member for Mkushi North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that response. And it's quite exciting to learn that the mine will be operational by the end of this year. My question therefore, as a follow-up question, Mr. Honorable Minister, is since you have stated that there are two companies who are going to operate that mine, when do you think the preparations when it comes to these mining activities coming on board in Mkushi district? Because I understand that for now, they should be able to start preparing the ground for the operations, because we are already almost in the middle of the year. So when are they starting the preparations to really excite the people of Mkushi that that mine will be operational?
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Mineral Development.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Like I said, the disturbance or the delay was necessitated by unstable fiscal regime at the time. So in terms of preparation, I think that we need to look now at their documentation and see, or probably ask our officers to go there and check. But what we know is that the mine will be operational by 2020. And by the way, I want to clarify, it's not two companies that are going to run. They have two shareholders. So in terms of how they run it, that's now according to their program. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, you have attributed the delay to the implementation of that project, mining project in Mkushi, to unstable fiscal regime from the past.
Honorable Minister, when the new Dawn government came in, it was very clear that it needed to ramp up production, and it immediately took steps to encourage the mines to start investing, something that never happened in the previous 10 years. And First Quantum Minerals has already benefited from Northwestern Province through their cobalt mining, some of the incentives that this government has provided. What could be the real reason behind this delay? And bearing in mind that we have only remained with 6 months to get about 9 months rather to get to the end of the year, and mining, as we know, is a very, very intense business. So what do you think is the main reason for this delay?
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Mineral Development.
Mr. Speaker, the statement has already given the reason, so I don't know which other reason I can give. They couldn't open because mining, Mr. Speaker, when you determine the resource, it will tell you at what cost you are going to mine every ton. So, if the policy environment is not stable, it's unpredictable, as the honorable member has really said, mining is capital intensive. So you want to know whether if you invest 10 kwacha today, for example, there will be no changes in taxes and whatever, then you project that you'll be able to make a profit. Because normally mining, you may start this year mining, you may score a profit maybe 3-4 years later. So when you know that the environment is unstable, it doesn't make economic sense for you to go into mining. So, Mr. Speaker, for you to go into mining, you mine in an environment like the one the new Dawn government has put in place. Predictability, stability, and also knowing that I'll make a profit when I invest in this kind of regime. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kabata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Honorable Minister, looking at what used to happen in the past, you discover that a lot of mining licenses were issued merely for speculative purposes. And we saw in the past 10 years that people never conducted any mining activities. Honorable Minister, would you be in a position to tell us when exactly the mining license for this particular company was issued?
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Mineral Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I may not give the exact period unless I get back to the office and get information on when exactly this was given, but I must hasten to say that the concern from the honorable member indicates that this license was given a long time ago and the mine was not going into operation. I can add, Mr. Speaker, because of the stable policies and predictability that we've created in the environment, apart from this mine, there is also Mukushi Copper Project that is going to come. There is Kitumba project in Mumba district. And there is Mwekera copper mine on the copper belt, among others. So, this is showing, in fact, I may add also Mingomba, the one that we are opening in Chililabombwe. And an investment, actually the money is in the country. They were just confirming to me, and they have also employed the Zambian CEO. So, this is because of the predictability of this economy and the stable policies that Honorable Msokotwane and the team at Ministry of Finance and generally the new Dawn government have put in place. And that is why these mines are now becoming operational. I will tell you, Mr. Speaker, that these mines began their explorations and they stopped because the policies in the previous regime were dancing. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The order, the Honorable Member of Lukasha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I honestly hope that these new policies are not tantamount to selling our sovereignty, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister is just for him to confirm to the House if during this period this company has been compliant with paying charges associated with the mine which is not operative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Mineral Development.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I thank the honorable member for that question. For any mine in Zambia, especially under the new dawn, because we are a government that respects the rule of law. No mine, and I want to emphasize, Mr. Speaker, is going to operate while abrogating the rules of that license. We are going to follow the Mines and Minerals Act to the latter. So no mine will operate with a license that is, that does not follow the law. So we are very clear about that, and that is why, Mr. Speaker, we have grabbed a lot of licenses that were given for speculative purposes. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chifuvu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, the New Dawn administration, as you have elaborated, has put certain conditions that are resounding to operationalize this mine that is in Mkoshi. My question is, we appreciate the conducive environment your ministry has created through the very trusted and able the New Dawn administration is currently undertaking. As your ministry sat down with the owners of the mines, now to tell them that this is what we have put in place, can you go ahead so that we the people of Mukushi so that they can see the meaningful development expected when this mine commences? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. Mr. Speaker, I am very excited with that kind of questioning because then it allows me time to actually explain what we are doing to make sure that the people, the mining companies or investors that are in the mining sector begin to answer to the policy environment that this government has created. Number one, we have set up regulation through the Minerals Commission. Cabinet will be approving it very soon. It's the first time in Zambia we are having a regulator in the mining sector. Mr. Speaker, that will now be a vehicle that we will use to check if people are complying, if people are understating production figures, if people are not giving us what we want as a government. That is the vehicle that we are going to use. So, Honorable Member, be comforted that as we put these policies in place, the ministry is also on firm ground to make sure that mining companies abide with the law and they also answer to the predictable policies that we have put in place. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Petoke Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke to ask a follow-up question on the Minister of Mine on behalf of the good people of Mukoshi. The Minister of Mine, on those mines which you are saying that they are going to be operationalized this year, they did a geological survey, and how many types of minerals are we expecting as Zambia to be mined at those two mines? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Predominantly, these are copper mines, but any other details, I think they are stated in their licenses. If you wish to know, Honorable Member, you can visit my office. I'll give you the details. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Shuangandu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, it's interesting to listen to the Honorable Minister. And I personally have got no doubt on my mind that you are equal to the task, knowing you as our former hard-working mayor for Chirilagombwe.
Order, honorable members. May you take your seat, Honorable Chief Whip. I think as we debate, let's keep calm and avoid abusing each other. Let's stick to the question. He may not be comfortable if you refer to who he was in the past. So let's just stick to the question. I stand. No. It could be a fact, but let him just ask the question. He's a hardworking minister, by the way.
Yeah, even a mayor was hardworking, implementing clear policy.
Mr. Speaker, well guided. Listening to you, Honorable Minister, saying you have now the predictable environment and everything is in order. And I think if that was the case, my dear Honorable colleague sitting here, who comes from where there's the famous Kasenseli, this time we would have been at peace. And I don't think today the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs would have been rising on a point of order to assure the nation that the rooted sewage from some mine has gone missing. What guarantee do we have, Madam Honorable Minister, that this abandoned mine, with knowing what has been happening in Mukushi, where people are bumping each other with Chinese and they get shares, how sure are we that this abandoned mine or in Kashime is safe and no one is rooting like it is happening in Rwapula where sewage is being rooted? I thank you, Madam Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for that question, and thank you, Honorable Member. Sometimes when we are making these statements, we must look at the man in the mirror. As we are making these sewage allegations, you know, all the illegalities, look at the man in the mirror. When you are looking in the mirror, see who you look at. Because these issues have got a history. And that's why they are coming up today now. They are being exposed because of a transparent government. This is, Mr. Speaker, a transparent government. When you talk about the Kasenseli mine, Mr. Speaker, very soon, and in fact it may be next week, that we will announce how transparent that mine will operate. That is why I'm saying when you mention some of these things, Kasenseli, Sujilite, look at the man in the mirror. Then they will tell you, you see who that man in the mirror is and what was happening around these assets. Mr. Speaker, we are a government of laws. We respect the rule of law. And because we respect the rule of law, any mine has the responsibility, according to the Mines and Minerals Act, to take care of issues of illegal mining. So this very license, the owners have the responsibility to make sure there is no illegality around that mine. And this is a transparent government, like I said. We will expose any illegality and we will arrest if you are involved in illegal things, regardless of who you are. So, Mr. Speaker, answering the honorable member, I'm saying the owners of Kashime mine have the responsibility to make sure there is no illegality. If there is illegal mining, we invoke the law. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honorable member for Kankoyo.
It's online. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, earlier on this year, President Hakainde Hichilema made it very clear that we're going to unlock a lot of rigidities. We have seen The Ndora Dua Carriage Road has been unlocked. The president is in Chikankata today unlocking ZESCO. The Minister of Finance yesterday assured us to say the debt crisis which we've been grappling will soon be unlocked. We've seen Mimbura mine being unlocked. We've seen a nitrogen chemical of Zambia coming back to life. We've seen Tazama line being unlocked. We've seen Indeni unlocked. Honorable Speaker, should the people of Mukushi doubt the ability of this government after having seen what this government is unlocking? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Wala Sabik. Mr. Speaker, thank you, Honorable Member, for that question, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. The people of Mukushi, and through the people of Mukushi, the people of Zambia, must, and underline must, never doubt the ability of this government to deliver. We are equal to the task. We'll keep unlocking. Very soon, KCM will be announced. Mopani will be announced. We are unlocking this economy so that you begin to, and unlocking for everyone, every Zambian, whether you are opposition, you are ruling party, you enjoy the unlocking that is taking place in this government. We are also unlocking the debt that was swept under the carpet in some of these mines. So, Mr. Speaker, Chambeshi Metals is also on the cards. And, Mr. Speaker, I also want to say we are unlocking Shaft 28, which was dead in Luansha. And the report is on my desk. The dewatering is starting. They gave us a period of time. We have told them that we want it to be reduced so that the people of Luansha and the Honorable Member for Ron and Luansha can begin to enjoy. Mr. Speaker, this government, Honorable Member, never doubt that we will be able to deliver to the expectations of the Zambian people. I thank you much, Mr. Speaker.
I think 7 people so far have debated this question, so the last one will be the Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I'm one of the people who don't subscribe calling Zambians illegal miners. When God was creating this earth, planet, He gave different people their minerals where they belong. He gave the Arab world oil. He gave us here copper, precious stones, a lot of minerals. Mr. Speaker, today, whoever comes in this country gets a license. 30 years after getting the license, there's nothing he's doing. When the Zambians goes there, they are called illegal miners. Minister, you agree with me that a good number of people, some of them are here, they have gotten a lot of mining license in speculation. They want to have a mining license, that I'm a miner, but they are doing nothing on that mining rights. A good number of them have been sold to bogus investors who are holding on to licenses. Minister, if you look at this background, which I know you are very versatile with, don't you have a plan in a case of Mkushi, who is my neighbor? In case of Mkushi, don't you have a plan of cancelling these licenses, which has been dormant, even after giving them mining rights? They keep on renewing them. When the renewal time comes, they renew them. When the renewal time comes, they renew them. But they are not putting up any investment there. And this country have got people who can go on those mining rights and develop them. And they are disadvantaged by these people. Don't you have a plan or an act to bring it to this parliament so that we start cancelling licenses which are overdue? Because you agree with me that you have complaints at your office. A good number of them, they are not functioning. And this country needs money. And somebody can't hold on to a license which is not adding value to us. Do you have any plans to bring an act here so that we start grabbing licenses if there's nothing happening after 10 years? Thank you, Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you, Honorable Member, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Member, we are well ahead, and that's why I'm saying do not doubt their capability of this government to deliver. We, Mr. Speaker, are already finalizing the SI that restricts the number of licenses to 5, and that will be put in place. So already we have made announcements, and people are beginning to surrender because they've seen that this government is serious. And what we are saying, Mr. Speaker, is those 5 that you will be limited to, you must prove that you are working them out. If you are not working them out, we'll grab it back. So even going beyond 5 licenses, first prove that the 5 that you have worked them out, they are in production, and then you can ask for more. If that is not happening, we will not allow. So we are already well ahead of that, Honorable Member, and we are just waiting for justice to clean it up, then we'll announce to the country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member of Mkushi, the owner of the question, will ask the last one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I love the passion and the confidence that is coming out from the minister, even as he deliberate and give these answers. Honorable Minister, what is the take-home message for me as a member of parliament for Mkushi, as I go back to Mkushi, so that the people there can really be excited over this development that is coming before the end of this year?
Honorable Minister of Mines.
Thank you, Honorable Member, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. First and foremost, I draw the confidence from the fact that we have a leader in President Hakainde Hichilema, who is very focused, very serious, and he knows what this country needs in terms of taking it forward. So that when I'm talking like this, Mr. Speaker, in Bemba we say Mumbo Kulila, meaning what's the name of Mumbo in English? When a hyena is making noise, it means that it knows where it will get its defense in case you attack it. So even me, why I have this confidence, it's because I know the leader that this government has. So, Mr. Speaker and Honorable Member, to assure the people of Mkushi, I will just say, never ever doubt the ability of this government to deliver, and will follow through this mine that it becomes operational so that our people in Mkushi can see the benefit of having a mine. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next question. The Honorable Member for Kafinsa will ask question 229 on behalf of the member for Chimwemwe on prior notice.
Question number 229.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Alan Banda, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chimwemwe, is asking through the MP for Kamfisa, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, at A, whether government has any plans to tar the following township roads in Chimwemwe parliamentary constituency: Vanadium and Ziocon in Itimpi Ward, Government in Kamatipa Ward, Kavala in Chimwemwe Ward, and if so, when the plans will be implemented. And if there's no such plans, the Honorable MP wishes to know why. In response, Mr. Speaker, to these questions by Honorable Alan Banda, I wish to inform this august House that government does not have immediate plans to rehabilitate township roads in his constituency due to the highly constrained financial laxity in the road sector. The plans are not yet in place, and this is due to highly constrained road sector financing, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Kafinsa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Member of Parliament for Chimwemwe, who's out of the country, I wish to ask the Acting Minister the follow-up question regarding the 10-year road sector plan. Minister, you are on record, I think, 2 or 3 times, informing not only this August House, but the public that government is developing a 10-year road sector plan, which will guide how the roads will be undertaken in different areas. And the MP of Chimwemwe did submit the list of priority roads to the local authority for onward submission to your ministry. Minister, are you able to indicate when funding for the 10-year road sector plan will be mobilized so that works could commence? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government.
Let me thank the Honorable Member for his question on behalf of his colleague. Yes, indeed, Mr. Speaker, I'm on record both on the front that government is embarked on developing a 10-year road sector development plan excuse me, for this country. And in terms of the question he's asking me, I wish to just repeat what many of our colleagues have said here on the floor of this House so that it's no longer rhetoric. And that is to say, back in the year 2013, the government then, that answers to the name Patriotic Front, decided to let go and cease any development of all projects that were below 80% due to the very reason that I'm having now. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, just in this morning, was explaining the stages at which his ministry is at to deal with the various percentum of the projects that were left by our colleagues who are now asking these questions. I want to state that we will cross the bridge when we get there. For now, we are cleaning up every untidy transaction, every uncompleted transaction. We want to make sure that we put them behind us, and as such, it would be imprudent to commence new projects when there are many that are just seated and unattended to at various percentum levels. It is a reality, Mr. Speaker, that you cannot climb a tree from the leaves. You can only climb it from the root. We want to first clear off all the pending projects that were left by our colleagues before we embark on new ones. So even if we found money today, I want to guarantee you, colleague and friend, that we are not coming to Chimwemwe now, simply because the MP has asked that question. We are going to be systematic to make sure that we complete those projects that the Patriotic Front decided not to attend to at all, the ones that were left by MMD. We are on record as a government to say we want to make sure that we complete all projects that were not done, the projects that PF took over from MMD, and those that we have taken over from PF. There's a lot of planning, reconstruction, and it has to be done in a very systematic approach. We are not going to commence new projects just like that for appeasement purposes. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kafinsa.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. I take note on behalf of my colleague the response that the Minister has provided, that there are no immediate plans for these roads in Chimwemwe constituency for the reasons that have been given. Mr. Speaker, the people of Chimwemwe that are tuned to this conversation would want to find out from the minister. The issue that has been raised is the issue of accessibility. It's the issue of allowing our residents to move from point A to point B on a road that allows them access. It may not be a tarred road. What could be the short-term measure, especially the roads that have been identified in Vanadium, in Itimpi, in Kamatipa. Kamatipa is an unplanned settlement that obviously requires very urgent attention. So the MP for Chimwemwe, on his behalf, I'm sure the residents would want to know, if you're not going to do a tarred road for the reasons you've given, what is the short-term measure? Our people need assurance, and I think it's important that we utilize this great opportunity. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the colleague for his follow-up question and the emphasis on the fact that the people in Chimwemwe are tuned in to what we are saying. The whole country is tuned in, including Mazabuka, where I come from. I want to just use Mazabuka as a case study that the township roads were left at 20% in the year 2013. We have not died. We have not picked stones. We understood that at that time the government that was there had embarked on a non-realistic, robust road rehabilitation plan, to the extent that prior to their exit, they convinced some of us in this house who had not traveled far and wide that certain areas of this country are like paradise. They're on record. Today we have learned that the whole country is an emergency situation. That is a status quo. The whole country, it's not just Chimwemwe, is an emergency situation. The constituency that I represent is disconnected from township to township. That's a fact. So we are not going to use politics here that because people are listening. No, we won't do it. Coming to the solution, we have said time and time again that the modus operandi, the route, the way of doing things that our erstwhile governors, these ones here, the PF, had adopted, of constructing roads at exorbitant prices, where one road of 10-kilometer worth could even buy 2 motor graders. We are now encouraging all of you, including the people in Chimwemwe, that they must buy road equipment, 6 motor grader, water bowser, roller compactor, tippers, and they must make good of those roads so that they are motorable, while we are trying our best to reverse the damage that was done by these ones here. Until such is achieved, Mr. Speaker, we have to learn that reality is not an illusion. The whole country is an emergency situation. The roads that we're talking about, call it L400, C200. C means copper belt. There was no S200, S meaning Southern Province. There was no E200, meaning Eastern Province. There was no W200, meaning Western Province. But there was C200, Copper Belt Roads 200. Why should they be the ones to scream the most? This country is under a complete emergency, all of it. There should be no holding people at ransom to say people are listening. This is a purpose for which this house exists. People must understand that there's value in getting truthful leaders. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chadiza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, I thank you for those responses. Honorable Minister, township roads are needed almost countrywide, including people of Chadiza. Honorable Minister, besides that, township roads are a bit more on a on an expensive side as compared to trunk and main roads because of obvious reasons that on township roads, you don't only need to do the major pavement, but you also need to take into account that there are pedestrians and the aspect of street lighting and so forth and forth. Honorable Minister, at your ministry, have you sat down? Because I've heard you talking about the fiscal challenges that the government is facing. Whilst this kind of an asset is quite expensive when it comes to execution, have you sat down as a ministry to constitute more or less of a study division that would look at reducing the cost of doing a kilometer, the cost of doing this road per kilometer? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Let me thank the colleague, the MP for Chadiza, for that question. And he's asking this question because he's an accomplished engineer. So I understand where he's coming from. Mr. Speaker, roads have got specs. And depending on what specification, spec is an abbreviation for specification, the price per kilometer will differ. If you recall, during MMD, there was Formula One. It had its own specification. And then came PF, they went to L400, C200. It has its own specification. Today, we are talking about the Ndola-Lusaka dual carriageway. It has also its own specifications. So we have those categories, Honorable Member of Parliament for Chadiza. We have the categories of the costing, depending on what kind of road you want to build. There are asphalt roads, there are bituminous standard roads, there are gravel roads, grade 1, 2, 3. Those experts can tell you all that. That information is contained in our ministry. And so, truthfully speaking, what I said earlier is what I'll say again. Go to places that are a bit more organized than we have been. Go to Namibia across here. If you go in a period that is away from the rain season, you may think the whole place is actually tarmacked, and yet they use salt for most of the period. And when the rain comes, as we use molasses here, you will find that just that 3 months provides some stress in terms of, dust emissions and the roads. Those are some of the things that we are tinkering around with ourselves to make sure that at least our people, in the meantime, while we are trying to demolish this debt mountain that the party that you belong to, Honorable, created for this country, we the pain by doing some of those the solutions. And so we are very alive to the cost of doing a road, but I can confirm with no fear of any amount of contradiction that the way things were in the past, just a low-grade gravel road was so expensive to a point where we from our side, we are just calling that as daylight robbery. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mufurira, seated there, can bear me witness. After the CDF was increased last year, we sat down and contributed 6.5 million from each constituent to buy earth-moving equipment. Now, I want to ask the Minister of Local Government, Kitwe having 5 constituencies, is he encouraging them also to put their money together to buy equipment so that they can quickly attend to the roads in their constituencies? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Local Government.
Let me first applaud the 3 colleagues from Mufulira who had that initiative. The President has said this many, many times, that there's value in partnerships. When you look at Kitwe district as a whole, geographically, it is small. It is minute, it's petite. So, it is minute, it is petite. Petite, small. Okay? Compared to, say, Kasempa here, one constituency. or Kaputa. So there's value in what Honorable MP for Kankoyo is bringing here. That even if they decided, as a matter of fact, to just put 5 million kwacha each, not the 25 you put, they will do wonders in that Kitwe place of yours. Wonders where you will not even bring any questions about township roads, at least to put them into motorable standard of gravel nature. That's what I think. So there's no reason in being isolated. The challenges are many, and let me say this to you, Honorable MP for Kankoyo, in ending my answer to you. This is the very reason, and I'm sure the people in Chimwemwe are listening. This is the very reason why President Hakainde Hichilema, in his wisdom, decided to migrate that CDF from a paltry 1.6 million kwacha, which at times, 2 years last parliament, to 28 million kwacha. That's phenomenal. Under any standard, unless you just don't want to see the realities of life, under any standard, that increase is phenomenal. And it will be good to make maximum, optimize the usage of this privilege that you have as a member of parliament. Correct. To make wonders for the people who voted for you. Because there was a gap. This money was not there. Now it is. And you're still complaining, coming back to us, as you are saying, meaning, what I'm reciting, Mr. Speaker, and it's serious. Pampando is this attempt to demystify the behavior of not accepting a loss and thinking that we will be back. Living in denial, in short. We will be back. We'll take them back to 1972 when Godfrey Yukachitalu was the big star around here. There was a song which they were singing. The same people, meaning we cannot go back as we are going forward. Thank you.
Order. Next question. The Honorable Member for Mwasawombwe.
Thank you, Chair. Question 230.
With prior notice, the Tourism Minister is the one that will take this question on behalf of the Infrastructure and Housing Minister. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Mwansawombwe asked the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development the following questions. When will construction of civic centers in Mwansawombwe Parliamentary Constituency be completed? What caused the delay in the completion of the project? And lastly, the cost of outstanding works. Mr. Speaker, our response is as follows. The construction of the Civic Center in Mwansawombwe Parliamentary Constituency will be completed by the fourth quarter of 2023. The delay in completing the project, Mr. Speaker, was due to, number one, inadequate budget allocation to infrastructure projects in the previous years. Number two, the increased cost of building materials due to the passage of time. Number three, the estimated cost of the outstanding works stands at 2.2 million. Mr. Speaker, if I could just bring in additional information and probably as a rider to what was earlier presented when our Honorable Member of Parliament for Chairman North, or rather Kanchibia, raised the issues of the Civic Center. The completion of construction of the Civic Center in Mwansawombwe has been budgeted for in the 2023 approved budget by my ministry. The contract sum, Mr. Speaker, was 5.985,700 million. To date, Mr. Speaker, 3.8 has been certified and paid to the contractor, whose name is Swodacom. And the initial time frame for the completion of the project was 12 months, Mr. Speaker, from the date of commencement, which was 10th December 2014, with expected date of completion of 11th December 2015. Unfortunately, the project was not completed. But we are happy that the New Dawn government has revised the completion date to 31st December 2023. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Any debate? The Honorable Member for Masaombwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Minister, thank you for the responses. Minister, as you've alluded to, this is a project which has taken quite some time. And the people of Masaombwe are very pleased to hear that it will be finished in the fourth quarter of this year. However, Minister, it is very sad to say that this is a project, most of the structures have reached 80 to 90% completion. However, people have started vandalizing them. And I'm sure by the time when the contractor will be moving on site, you might find that the figures might be different from what the estimated remaining cost will be. What measures are you going to put in place to make sure that these properties are secured, that people stop vandalizing them? I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for that follow-up question. I'm glad to note that the Honourable MP does concur with the Ministry that the works done so far are almost over 80%, of which we did commit as government that all projects which are 80% and above have to be concluded before we embark on other projects. And to answer your question, Mr. Speaker, we will, as a ministry, intensify security for those particular projects. And as mentioned and as noticed by the Honourable Member of Parliament, we will engage the contractor to ensure that security is heightened at those projects. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I'm failing to understand now, looking at the number of projects which were stored. And I think we have to refer to history, because if we don't, then we'll never learn. Speaker, 10 years ago, President Michael Sata died. And 11 years ago, he declared Masaombwe district. So since our minister, from the last 11 years, he died, I think, before he took over government. That was about 8 years or so, is it? Now I think we've entered in 10 years. What really happened for us to be talking about this unfinished projects? Ministers who are ministers of housing, ministers of works by then, they're here. What really happened for these projects not to finish? This is the question I want to raise. Because if you look at my colleague there, I've been to Masaombwe, I've worked in that road. What really happened for these projects not to finish for the last 10 years? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honourable Member of Parliament for Nyimba for that amazingly coined question. What really happened in the last 10 years of the PF rule, when all these places were earmarked as new districts? All we heard was that a lot of money was pumped in, a lot of procurement contracts were given out, but we are still yet to understand exactly where that money went to. However, we in our new government is sitting there and making sure that all projects that the New Dawn government embarks on are fully funded and are completed in a timely manner, and obviously making sure that those projects that we complete and the quality, indeed, thank you very much, and the quality of those projects is delivered to our people. And looking at how long this project has taken long, you must give our government a pat on the back, considering that by end of 2023, this particular project will be concluded, and I'm certain that the Honorable Member of Parliament for Mwansawombwe will be on hand to receive that project to give it to the people of Mwansawombwe. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Lukasha.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I just want to confirm one thing that the Minister himself confirmed, that in regard to this contract we're talking about, the contractor was actually paid the money in full. So there's no money that's outstanding on this project. I just want to find out, Honorable Minister, if you decide to proceed with completion as you've said you are going to do you intend to use the same contractor in this instance, or are you going to change the contractor? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, I think I was very clear in my submission. The estimated cost of outstanding works is 2.2 million. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chifuvu.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, the people of Chifuvu in particular and the people of Zambia in general have been listening to the deliberations that have been going on since morning in this honorable house. There are a number of projects that we have discussed to have stalled. And some of these projects have been as a result of lack of funding. Others have been as a result of lack of misappropriation of funds, either to the people who are there or contractors. My question is, what is your ministry doing pertaining to this project that has stalled because either the money was misappropriated or due to lack of funding? Because it smells something fishy. There is no way out a project can be started 10 years ago. Up to now, it has not finished. Money from every calendar cycle was being allocated to this project, and it has not been completed up to date. My question to you, Honorable Minister, why are you taking long to prosecute the wrongs? The people of Zambia want to know, because if culprits are there and you allow them to go scot-free, they will never learn. So the people of Chifuvu want to find out, why are you taking long to prosecute those who are on the wrong side, who have contributed to these projects being stalled? For once, you don't do something.
The Honorable the Acting Minister of Infrastructure. Though there was a concern, there was a question that was raised by the Honorable Member of Lukasha. I think it wasn't fully attended to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Apologies for not having concluded answering that question. If I'm not mistaken, the follow-up question was whether we'll continue with the same contractor. The answer is yes. We will continue with that contractor until they conclude their given project. Now, to go to the question of Honorable, the follow-up question from Honorable Luwosha regarding the prosecution. I do believe that our government has intensified the process of having to prosecute those people who may have swindled government treasury. And I do realize that one of the steps that we've taken, you may have noticed from our colleague from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development having to cancel certain projects which were contracted and what I'd like to call we over-procured, when in actual sense the funds were not made ready available. But to answer your question, Mr. Speaker, as to what we as government are doing with regards to the stored projects, I will repeat, Mr. Speaker, all those projects which are 80% and above are being looked into seriously by the Treasury. Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning, Honorable Sokotwani, is here. we should be able to conclude most of those projects. And I can rest assure you that this government is not going to sit idle or wait to prosecute those people. Sooner rather than later, those prosecutions will be done. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Masawombwe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, the people of Mansawombe would like you to be specific when exactly, or rather which month in the fourth quarter, knowing that in the fourth quarter it will be raining. So maybe if you can be specific, because then if it will be raining, it might be difficult again for the contractors to finish on time. When exactly, which month in the fourth quarter will the contractor move on site and finish the project? I submit it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm not quite certain on how the Honorable Member of Parliament would want us to put a hard date on the completion. I would have thought that end of fourth quarter of 2023 would have sufficed. However, Mr. Speaker, I must make mention that the current progress for that particular project we're talking about is not a cause of concern per se, considering that the civic center has been roofed and the ceiling has been done already. 90% of the tiling of the civic center and houses has been done. 70% of the glazing of the civic center has been done. 2 high-cost houses have been roofed and ceiling done. 60% of the interior painting of the 2 housing units has also been done. So I don't think there's a source of concern when we want the rains. I think we all want the rains, even in Mansawombwe, during the December period, so that you can grow as much grain as you possibly can for our export. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
There's a point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And my point of order is on Honorable Mwen Mangango. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable claimed that there are thieves in this house. This is the Honorable House, Mr. Speaker. And these Honorable members are under your watch. Meaning if there are thieves here, meaning even the presiding officers are thieves because they're harboring thieves. Is it in order when the Suji light thieves are outside, where they are being kept, they have not been prosecuted, and he should come and claim that this Honorable House, which is under you, Honorable Speaker, and the presiding officers, to come and say, we have thieves. Are you harboring thieves, Mr. Speaker?
Thank you. Though, you know, at times when you are seated here, you may not hear what voices out there are saying. I didn't hear that. But if he said that, definitely I think the best way, because we've got a way how we can reveal this, I'll reserve my ruling for now, so that we try to look at that critically. But I just want to advise honorable members, let's not use language that is unparliamentary in this house. May the honorable member who was on the floor continue. Is it the honorable minister? Okay, the honorable member for Chawama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for your responses. I'm just wondering, if there was any wrong committed in the past, why are we continuing with the same contractor? Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, let me get in there. I'm not quite certain if I did actually say the contractor was a problem on this case. The issue here was that the issue here was regarding the deal. Government over-procured. So the contractor was on site. All he was waiting for was his funds. And indeed, the UPND government is going to pay the remainder of the 2.2 million for the completion of the project in Mwansabombwe parliamentary constituency. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
Let's make progress. Next question. The honorable member for Mongu Central.
Question number 231, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I answer the question, I would want to be given an opportunity to congratulate, first and foremost, the Zambia national soccer team for beating Lesotho 3-1. And this has really increased our hopes to qualify for AFCON, which, Mr. Speaker, you are aware that the last time we qualified was in 2015. I also want to thank members of parliament, ministers, who physically went to Ndola, to Mwanawasa Stadium to cheer the team. I may also want to thank those who couldn't make it because the quorum would have collapsed. I want to thank you also for your support. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, let me now get to the question. It's like, Mr. Speaker, today we'll only be talking about stored projects, because even the one I'm about to tackle is a stored project. The honorable member, Mr. Amutike, Mongo Central, wanted to know whether the government has any plans to construct a stadium in Mongo district. In 2013 again. Who else? In B, Mr. Speaker, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and in C, what the seating capacity of the stadium would be. Mr. Speaker, the elder member of parliament may wish to note that it is government's desire to construct the ultra-modern stadium in Mongu in Western Province. In B, when the plans will be implemented, Mr. Speaker, plans to resume construction of the Mongo ultra-modern stadium will commence, obviously, when the funds are available, because we don't want to be part of the under-95 assurances that we are treated with in this parliament. So when the funds are available, we'll be able to continue. But the honorable member of parliament may also wish to note that the Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts is currently engaging the private sector for alternative source of funding to facilitate the construction of the stadium through a public-private partnership. As we look for the money, we are also engaging alternative, I said, alternative source of funding. In 3, Mr. Speaker, once constructed, the seating capacity for this ultra-modern Mongo Stadium will be 20,000. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kawata.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, I just wanted to find out, you haven't given us the total costing of how much it will cost to build a stadium that will house almost about 20,000 people.
The Honorable Minister of Sports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The question was very clear. If government has plans, yes, we have plans. If there was also a question of how much, I would have answered. But I'll volunteer and answer, Mr. Speaker. The contract of the Monga Ultra Modern Stadium, which was awarded, as I said, in 2013, to Wakong Enterprises, additional information, and the contract sum was 294 million, 111,860.
The Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you to the Minister of Sports, Youth and Sport. First, me, I'm not going to congratulate you because you went to watch football alone. So I'm not congratulating you. I'm just congratulating the Zambia national team. One. Second thing is that this stadium we are talking about, we all need these stadiums in our respective districts. For me, Minister, we need to look for money and see to it that Nyemba is given at least even 2,000, 5,000 seats. I will appreciate. Now, if the history tells me well, this stadium was given, according to your answers, to Wangkong in 2013. I'll still ask the question, what happened between 2013 and today? Why is it that the stadium was not constructed? Because I recall very well that the contractor even moved on site. And what happened between 2013 and now? After, I will repeat this, after the demise of Michael Sato, what is really happening? What happened from there? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, messages of congratulations, Mr. Speaker, should come from someone's heart. If it doesn't want to, who are we to say you should? But I know inside his heart is congratulating us, the New Dawn government, for the efforts that we've made so far in promoting sport. I know that. Answering the question, yes, this is the project that was that we saw the late President, may he so rest in peace, even doing the groundbreaking in Mongu in 2013. But I think these are the questions that your neighbors would have answered properly. And obviously the leader of opposition will be able to assist us, my big brother there. You know, there are also these issues after the demise of the late President Sata. A lot of projects indeed stalled. So all of us should be questioning why all the projects that were started by the late President Sata had to stall. I think everyone will be able to ask questions. But I think what is important now is just to look for resources and continue with that project. We may not cry over spilled milk. All we can do is just to forget about what really happened, but we'll continue asking questions. So we'll forget about it, but we'll continue asking questions. Yes, the contractor was given 300,000 kwacha, and to that effect, the contractor just cleared land, also tested the soils, drawings designed, connected power to the site, sank a borehole, and some temporary roads were done. And after that, maybe our colleagues had no plans to find resources to continue where Michael had really ended. Yeah, but I want also to assure my honorable member for Mongu that indeed in our infrastructure development plan, which I believe members of parliament should take keen interest to see, this infrastructure development plan of 2022 to 2026, Mongu Stadium is a priority. So we are going to make sure that we look for resources. And members of parliament, when we say we're looking for PPPs, we are not saying that we don't have plans to mobilize resources. We are going to do that, but we need also to find alternative source of funding so that we don't get into, our colleagues got into, especially in overborrowing. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Mungu Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that answer to the people of Mongu. As you correctly pointed out, the grants breaking ceremony was done in 2013. So since 2013, the people of Mongu have been waiting for this stadium, and they feel very frustrated by the pace at which this project is taking place. What government assurance do you therefore give the people of Mongu? This time around, the people of Mongu will not feel duped like they do feel now by their previous regime of our colleagues sitting over there. Can you assure the people of Mongu that this stadium will indeed this time be constructed? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts.
Thank you, Mr. And thank you for the question. Yeah, I want to assure you, as I said earlier, that in our infrastructure development plan of 2022 to 2026, Mongu Stadium. In fact, when you look at our plan, we have also another stadium in Livingstone, which is also a priority. As we are looking forward to hosting of the AFCON, obviously we'll have no option but to make sure that we have added stadium in the likes of Mongu and also Livingstone. So, as I said, honorable member, we are going to make sure that we mobilize resources. The Minister of Finance to see how best maybe next year the Minister of Finance will be able to assist us so that we increase on the budget for this ministry so that we can put up a lot of multi-sports facilities across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I want to announce that the quorum has dropped by 2 members. Ring the bell.
Good morning. Good morning. You're tuned into Parliament Television. Live pictures coming your way in the chamber. And the quorum has collapsed. 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted, as the House is currently considering question 231, understanding order number 74, and the Minister of Youth and Sport was arguing applications. This is in line with the question that was posed by Mr. Mutike of Mangu. And we do seem to have a quorum. Business resumes shortly.
May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just assuring my member of parliament for Mongo that in our infrastructure development plan, Mongo Stadium is a priority, and we are going to make sure that by 2026 this stadium is done. We are going to make sure. But we are very cautious, as I said earlier, that we don't want to be part of the 195 assurances. So when money, we find the money, when money is available. But we are going to make sure that between that time to 2026, we'll be able to put up a stadium in Mongo. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chifuvu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister of Sport, I would like to say thank you on behalf of the people of Chifuvu for the sports kit that you sent to them. They are very grateful. Surely, this is just a replica of what in general the government is trying to do in our country, that has made the New Dawn administration to stand firm on the ground, unshaken, to the extent that they are succumbing to one of the Bemba adage which says, meaning that for a dog to bark at an elephant, it is wasting its precious time. So all those who are expecting to uproot the New Dawn, they are wasting their time. Honorable Minister, my question to you is, you have mentioned in your preamble that you are also making concerted efforts to bring in other cooperating partners to supplement to the effort of seeing the construction of the Mongo Stadium a reality. Would you be in position to mention some of these cooperating partners that are coming on board, which are likely to help us, and if any, how far have you gone in the discussions? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Art.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that follow-up question. Indeed, we are motivated when we do the right thing, and we are commended. We are really motivated. If you remember very well, Honorable Member, it is in this house that I was telling all you members of Parliament that because of that increment on sports equipment, we'll be able to give out the sports equipment to members of Parliament, and what we are doing is just what we promised. This is the beauty about the New Dawn administration. When they promise, they always fulfill. And we'll continue fulfilling what we are promising you. Let me take also advantage of this opportunity to say those members of Parliament that have not collected the equipment, please make sure that you go to the minister and collect next week so that we close the chapter. We do other things. Coming to the question, Honorable, I may not be, Mr. Speaker, I will not be able to divulge any information about who may partner with us. Yeah, so that we do not jeopardize the discussions that we are having. When time comes, obviously I will be able to come to this house and tell you who may partner with us, or how we can mobilize resources as a ministry through the Ministry of Finance and continue with the project. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Let's make progress. The clerk will now read the order of the day.
The National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, third reading.
The Honorable Minister of Labor and Social Security.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read the third time.
The question is that the bill now be read the third time. Any debate, any objection? The question is agreed to. Let the bill be read the third time.
the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023.
Next order.
The Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, third reading.
The Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be read the third time.
The question is that the bill now be read the third time. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. Let the bill be read the third time.
The Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023.
The acting leader of government business adjournment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House now do adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Good afternoon. There you have it. That note brings us to the end of today's live parliamentary proceedings. Today, Friday, 24th March 2023. It's now time for us to look at business that has been considered on the floor of the House starting at 09 hours. The House did consider one question for oral answer understanding order number 76, and this question did come from Mr. Mtai Chalo of Chama North. He did ask the Minister of Tourism whether the government is aware that elephants are terrorizing people and destroying crops in the following villages in Chama North parliamentary constituency. That's Mbangandwe, Mulungule, Shipeta, Zobole, and Mulumbu. And in response, the Minister of Tourism did say that government is aware that elephants, including hippos and crocodiles, are actually terrorizing people and destroying crops in the mentioned areas. And in the B part of the question, Mr. Mtai wanted to find out what urgent measures have been taken to avert hunger and safeguard human life. And in response, the Minister of Tourism did mention quite a number of measures, among them deployment of officers on the ground to calm the situation. Thereafter, the House went on to consider 8 questions for oral answer understanding order number 74. And I'll just run through some of them. Question 225 did come from Mr. Chanda of Kanchibia. He did ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development when the construction of the following infrastructure in Kanchibia district will commence. That's a civic center, a police station, a police post, high-cost houses, medium-cost houses, and low-cost houses. And in response, the Minister, that's the Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Honorable Sikumba, did say that the commencement will only take place once phase 1 of the project is completed. The B part of the question, the Kanchibia lawmaker wanted to find out what the cause of the delay in commencing the project is, and in response, the minister did say that this is due to financial constraints. The cost of the project, the minister did say that will only be determined once procurement of contractors is concluded. And in the last part of the question, the Member of Parliament for Kanchibia wanted to find out the time frame for the completion of the project, and the Minister did say that this will only be known when the procurement of the contractors is done. The other question did come from Mr. Mtajalo of Chama North. He did ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development whether the government has any plans to rehabilitate the Chinsali Chibulu Vanama Road, which connects Chama to Chinsali district. And the Minister of Infrastructure and Housing did say that government does have plans to rehabilitate the said road. And in the B part of the question, the MP wanted to find out when the plans will be implemented, and the Minister did say that the plans will be implemented once the project has been re-tendered, and works will commence in the second quarter of 2023. We also did have a question from Mr. Chonde of Milenge. He did ask the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security when the construction of the Milenge police station in Milenge district will be completed. And the Minister did say that it will be completed when funds are made available, that's for the project. And these and many other questions were actually raised on the floor of the House. Thereafter, the House did consider the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, which came up at a third reading stage. It was read the third time and has actually passed this stage. The House also went on to consider the Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, which was equally read the third time and has actually passed the third reading stage. And so that's it. That's the business that was considered on the floor of the House today. Like always, we'd like to thank you so much for your time. Be sure to join us on Tuesday next week for more live parliamentary proceedings from all of us here. To have a great weekend.